know. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am happy to be here. It is a lot of things happening, so we'll kind of dive right in, but I wanted to go through the slide deck with you quickly. Sorry, just making sure everything is set. So today, what we're going to focus on is we're going to spend a lot of time with the ACT updates, make sure that we're all clear about the forward exam. We'll touch on pre-ACT because that is something that we will definitely need to keep in our minds. That's not going to be the focus this month. Next month, we'll be focusing on, finishing up ACT and then really diving into the pre-ACT Secure. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about dynamic learning maps because there's not a lot that you have to do, but know that this is going on. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about where things are with advanced placement and some quick updates there. So that's what we're going to be doing for today. Again, your support here at Central Office, the assessment team, Stacy Will from Student Services, and Ben Kolash from Multilingual Education. So our team is a strong team. We have the answers if you've got questions. So let's dive into the updates for ACT. So keep in mind that there is a website that is available. I follow this, so it is available for both the ACT and pre-ACT Secure. It is built by ACT in conjunction with the Department of Public Instruction. It takes you step by step through the process. There are links to all the documents that you need there. I put in a link to the site. When you get to the site, it will give you a choice. Do you want to go through to the pre-ACT Secure test or go to the ACT test? We're going to be focusing today, obviously, on the ACT. It lays out a series of steps from the very beginning in preparation to the end, after we're all finished testing. It does so both for the online version as well as the pencil paper version. So you will see in their resources that are specific to online, and the mirror image would be for the pencil paper resources. So this is a very important spot for you to get to have available. So again, earlier on in the slide deck, there was the link to this site. There's probably more here than what you want, but I know that, for instance, there are things like the instructions for how to do certain things that you have to do, some forms that are there, etc. I'm going to just kind of we're going to go through where we are right now, and this all aligns with what's in that website. So I just want to make you aware of that. So things that are happening right now. Number one, you may have seen an email already today from Nikki Brackenier at the state. She sends out updates. If not, please email me. I'll send you a copy of that. Make sure you get on her list. But so she provides an outline as well as resources from DPI regarding the assessment. So things that are happening right now, you will be getting, starting next week, you will be getting the materials that are requested for your specific version of the test. Everyone will receive materials. So if you are doing the pencil paper version, you will receive all the instruction manuals or copies of them for your room supervisors. You will get the how to complete, what to complete for my ACT, and you will get the a number of standard administration test booklets, and based on what was in TAA, the students that were enrolled that have approved accommodations, you will receive the appropriate number of test booklets that are accommodated. Please make sure, number one, that all of this material goes into a secure area that is not visited by everyone, that not everyone has access to, especially the pencil paper versions. The materials coming for the online testing are going to be the My ACT instructions. So getting students to build out their account and to answer the pre-test questions. And that's going to be about it. There will be some manuals as well for the online version, test administrator manuals. So the amount of materials that are received by the different high schools are going to be very different. Now, please keep in mind that there is for pencil paper testing, there are specific symbols that are on standard time test booklets versus accommodated test booklets. And you will see those in both the test administration guide, as well as on the booklets themselves. So please be careful that you keep track of which booklets go with which students. Now, other things going on. You have in place, and I've been updating as you've sent me, students who are new to your school, who have moved schools, etc. That should be in place. If they're not, let me know and I will follow up with that. So you should have a number. You should know who your students are. You need to start saying, okay, where am I going to put these students? I would start with those students who have accommodations, ensuring that those who have similar accommodations, timing code 7, timing code 6, timing code 8, are in the same room together. Not all mixed up, but timing code 6 goes in this room, timing code 7 in this room, timing code 8 in this room. One of the things that we've learned over time is that if you get them mixed up, this student should have been in timing code 8, but they were in a 6, even though everything looks the same as far as, oh, well, they get, an extra break. Those are not the same timing codes. ACT will essentially throw out the student's test, won't even score it if you are putting them in the wrong section. Yes, Janelle.
I just had a clarifying question about that. So the timing codes have to be in the same room, but what about if they have like an additional accommodation? So if I have 2 kids that are timing code 6, but one also has a computer for responding to the writing section for paper-based testing, can they still be in the same room?
As long as they're in the same timing code, yes.
Okay, great.
They can. Yep.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
No, I'd rather go through and get those clarified right now than to have it thrown out later. So thank you. Yeah, so I mean, there are things like that are really important to actually think about ahead of time. Make sure that you know what students have what accommodations. Once you've taken all of those students with accommodations, place them properly in the rooms, and you can look at things like, oh, this student and this student should never be in the same room and together, because that just won't work. And so you can actually, build out your schedule so that they are in the appropriate rooms, again, not mixing timing codes. Once you've gotten those students taken care of, then you can go and say, okay, here are the standard rooms, and now I'm going to start filling in. I know that in this particular room, I can put 25 students. In this one, I can put 28 students. In this room, 25. And you can just take them in chunks and put them into those rooms, assign them to those rooms. Doesn't matter if it's pencil paper or for the online version, you should have let students know. So whether you have a roster posted in several places, I think that's the easiest. What room are you in? Look for your name. So that would be something to be thinking about. Where are you going to put that so that students have an opportunity to see those things? So we should be in If you haven't started, it's not too late, but you should be working towards getting the testing rooms and locations all set up. Once you've done that, you need to say, okay, so who is going to be the room supervisors for each one of those rooms and assign them to that space. Finally, now that makes a difference if you are doing an online test versus if you're pencil paper. It's a little bit easier to move a person in and out of a room if you're doing pencil paper. But if you're doing an online version of the test, you need to assign, you've got sessions that you need to then assign. You make sure that everybody who's proctoring has access to the platform, the Pearson Access Next. So you need to invite them. You do not need to say, Tim goes to this room. We used to do that with Achieve. No, with whatever it was before pre-ACT. So that particular test was different. We now can have proctors. You can assign them as you go. I would suggest having more room supervisors go through the process of professional development, learning what they need to do, than what you're going to need, because you may need to have someone just roaming a hall, giving proctors a break if they need to use the restroom, etc. Now, online testing, just want to be clear, because this is something that Ben and I chatted about when I was out doing the mock ACT administration. Online testing, you do not have to wait until April to do the makeup test. Pencil paper test, those regular students, those standard test students and those with accommodations who do not have accommodations over multiple days, if they miss the 11th of March, the next date is April 8th. If you're doing the online version, if they miss on Tuesday, on Wednesday, they can do a makeup test, or Thursday. There's a 2-week window that we can do that in. So it's a little bit more flexible using the online testing for getting students to make up missed assessments, missed tests. All right. So when your material arrives, which will be next week, first thing you need to do is inventory the material. So make sure you know how many standard time booklets you have, and then how many accommodated test booklets you have. Then match that up with how many you need. My guess is they usually come in, they used to give us a 10% overage. They don't do that anymore. It might be a total of 10 booklets. So if their numbers were lower than what you currently have, you will need to order additional materials. The original shipment, which is due to arrive next week, will be based on what was in the system on the 31st of January. Things change. And again, I've been updating schools so that you may have more students than what they have listed. The deadline for ordering additional materials is the end of February. They can get it to you fairly quickly, but not after the 28th. So to order additional materials, make sure you go into Pearson Access Next, and we can walk you through that particular process if you would like that, if you haven't done that before. So again, materials are coming. Just make sure that you're aware of that. Preparing for test day. Some things to think about. First of all, you need to think about such things as, are we going to provide snacks? And typically, so I can tell you that I do not have funds for purchasing water, purchasing granola bars, any other kind of snack. But I would suggest that is something you want to consider. I know some of you do like a breakfast ahead of time. That is not a bad idea either. Again, I don't have the funds to cover that, but make sure that you've got that plan in the works. Phones, if you follow things, the things that we do with the advanced placement testing, all students will need to give up their phones. Now, we have them turn them off, and we put them in a plastic bag with their name on it and do not allow that in the test room. I know that they cannot have phones on them, so they need to have them removed. If it sits on the teacher's desk, the room supervisor's desk, that's fine with me. Again, I would have them turn it off because you don't want a phone ringing in the middle of the test. Trying to think what other kinds of things that we have that we need to think about for preparing for test day. Late start room. When you've got students, if you say we're going to be starting to, the first test, we're going to begin by 9 o'clock. What happens to the student who walks in at 9:01? They're there. So do you just say, good luck, come back, we'll test you next time, which might not happen. Or if they're there and ready, you should have a late room, and you may want to determine when is that point where you say it's too late. Is it 9:30? Because you're going to need to wait until then, that last call, in order for you to start in that particular room. I don't think you want multiple late start rooms. The morning of the test, you need to meet with your room supervisors and go through the order of the day, reminding them of certain things. They do need to have a seating chart that is going to be for everyone. That is, let's see if I've got that on the other. Yes. Things that you'll need for test day materials include things like student directions, seating charts, etc. Ben.
Yeah, just I want to let you know that on March 10th, we are being given time in the PD day. I think it's 15 minutes or whatever to brief our people. If we're doing that, do we still have to do, quote, something the morning of?
So here's what I would say. My gut is no. I would say be available in case they have questions that morning. So have a spot. So if you've got last minute questions, something that you said, oh, I just didn't get it, meet me in the literacy center or something like that. I'll be there from this time, for this, or someone will be there. It doesn't have to be you necessarily. No, you don't have to have a formal meeting. That's best practice, but if you've done it the day before, I think you're all good. Okay, some things that are materials that you will need. You will want to make sure you see. The test administration form has been completed, so we know that all the accommodations are in place. There's something called the Test Coordinator Information Manual. That is the one for you. That's the most comprehensive piece. It includes things like how to pack up the materials after the test that you're going to send out. The test administration manual there's a version for the standard administration and for accommodations. This is something that you will need for your room supervisors. Now, here's where your inventory of materials comes in handy. You will get some of these. I don't know if you're going to get enough. So these materials are available on that Wisconsin ACT website, and you can download them as PDFs. I can send you a PDF if you need it, etc. Also, one of the things that is available for students, I believe it's especially if they have the appropriate support listed, but if they need translated instructions, there is a document on that website called Student Directions Translated, and there's one for the paper version and one for the online version. So keep that in mind. You don't need to have somebody, I think it's, I don't know how many languages it's translated in. I'll double check to make sure it's in Spanish and Hmong. I know Spanish for sure. I saw Arabic in there as well. So that's available to you. You could have that ready. The online schools that are doing this, again, you need everything in, there's a test administration form I need to back up. The test administration form includes things like the seating chart. And so everybody, all rooms need to have one of these. The online version, it does not have space for a seating chart, but they do have a space that you're supposed to list who was initially assigned to that room. And so you can, once you've got all the sections or sessions set up, you can literally print that out and attach that as being who was initially assigned to that particular room. And the room supervisor has to fill out a few other things. And in all cases, they sign off on it and say, this is what we checked the ID of the student to make sure it was the right student, etc. So there are forms that need to be completed. You can do a lot of it prior to test day, but on test day, there are other forms, and then those need to be sent back, including those for the online testing versions. They need to be sent back to ACT. The test coordinator information manual has all that available to you. The online administration manual is what the room supervisors would need. You probably don't need any of the entire manuals. If you are taking a look, you can please review that, but there will be cases in which they will be able to read the script. Okay, we know that accommodations are all in. Again, especially those who, if you're doing online testing, 1.5 time means 1.5 times. So if you've got 6 students in there, 5 of them finish early, 5 cannot go faster onto the next testing section.
Tim, I don't think that's accurate. My understanding is that you have to at least give standard time, if I remember reading.
And if they're all finished, then yes, you can move on.
You have to at least wait through standard time. And then after standard time, if all are complete, don't rush anybody, but you can move on before 1.5 is up.
I agree. My apologies. Thank you for catching that, Ben. All right. Let's see. So let me stop there and see if there are any other questions, any things of concern that I've missed. Next month, we'll be talking about packing things up. We'll be talking about pre-ACT, etc. But I wanted to give you some things to think about. And if you've got specific questions, please let me know as we go through the next couple of weeks.
Hey, Tim, I've got a real quick one for you.
Yep.
Just want to make sure I heard you right. Deadline for additional materials, if we get new students, which we've got a few, is the end of the month, the 28th. We can do that ourselves, Pearson Online. We just put them in and order the new materials.
Correct. I would wait, obviously, until you get your materials in and inventory them. They do always have an overage, but again, if you still have more than that, you can order through that Pearson Access Next material site. I can probably send out a like a screenshot of where that is on Pearson Access Next, so you can see where that particular part is.
Got it. Thanks.
Sure. Yep. All right, Ben. I'll be around. We can chat. All right. Anyone else? We'll hang out here for a while, so don't worry. Or you can always email or call me. So we're going to move on to the forward exam. And again, I know that this is not high on everybody's priority list, but it is a state mandated assessment. This is, again, for our friends in 10th grade. It is for social studies. Unless they are, per their IEP, they are taking the dynamic learning map. They need to take, our 11th graders need to take the ACT. Our 10th graders need to take forward, and we'll just continue on. Our 9th and 10th graders need to take the pre-ACT. Secure. So it will be in their IEP if they are not going to be taking the forward or the pre-ACT or the ACT. Again, forward is a computer-based exam. It uses Chromebooks. It's for social studies only. And I think everybody who is has been assigned as the assessment coordinator for the forward got access to the DRC Insight platform. You do not have to put students in sessions. What you need to have is tickets for the students. They log in through their Chromebook. They log in using the DRC Insight app, which is the same location as TestNav, which is for pre-ACT as well as the ACT online. So on the Chromebook, it's in the lower left-hand corner. It says apps. They pull up DRC Insight, and that will take them to the forward exam. Now, it must be given in person. Again, the window. So here's the thing. You may choose to give the forward exam the 2 sections of social studies at any time between the March 17th date and the 25th of April. You do not have to wait until the 15th of April pre-ACT date. Just makes sense sometimes to do that, but you have this 6-week window essentially from March 17th through the 25th of April to give the forward exam. It does not work through class link. Students will have to have tickets, and we're going to send them to you somewhere around the 2nd week of March. So about the time that the ACT is taking place, you will be getting the forward exam tickets out to people. So again, I'm going to say this for the forward test, but also this is something to keep in mind for pre-ACT and for those doing the ACT online. Chromebooks, please make sure that students restart their machine. It needs to be, the OS needs to be I think it's 125 or higher. Restarting does not just simply mean closing the shell and opening it back up. That does not restart the computer. The power button in the upper right-hand corner does restart it. So pressing that, holding it, and then powering off and then turning it back on will update the machines. This is one of the things that we can do ahead of time to ensure that we have fewer technical issues on the day of the test. So please, you may just want to have a couple classes. Say, all right, this week, your one job, in addition to everything else, is to have students restart their Chromebooks. All right. Exam rosters have been out for looking to ensure that we have supports for students who are English learners. The return time was yesterday. And so if you didn't return it, I think you've gotten some emails. Please make sure that you get that to us and let us know what's up. I don't think that any of our high schools are in that situation who have multiple students with needing these supports. Again, there's 2 sessions of social studies. They take approximately 35 minutes each. So it could be it could be, in theory, 2 days of a social studies class. Not everybody has it. Not every 10th grader has it. So oftentimes it does make sense to do this on the 15th of April. 9th graders are done. They leave. 10th graders finish up the forward exam. Yes, Ben.
Just one comment. Anybody with 150% time won't have time to do the forward. So I automatically know that those kids are going to be in a makeup session later that week or the next week to take the forward, because the 150% time takes them till 3 or 3:30. Right.
Now, you could split that up and say they're going to do one of the 2 sections on the 15th, or you could just say we're going to do the whole thing all at once and get it done and over with. So it's up to you. But you're right. If they do time and a half, that's 105 minutes. And so that is a long time after a day of doing the pre-ACT as well.
Yeah, and you have to get the pre-ACT done in one day. So just telling them ahead of time they're doing the forward on this date. That's what I'm going to have 2 makeup dates in the afternoon for the forward.
And it needs to work for your school. So however you want to do it, you could in theory have those students take the test the 18th of March. You know, just saying. So it has to work for you. It has to work for your school, for your staff and your students. But there are options. So that if you have questions about the forward that I haven't covered, for instance, if you don't have access to DRC Insight and you need it, let me know. We'll make sure that you have that. And also, I'll be more than happy to walk you through some of the nuances of the platform. It is not anything that's required, similar to the online pre-ACT Secure, where you have to be involved with the platform. The forward test does not require proctor involvement with the platform, etc. So it can be done without having a teacher be logged into the platform. All right. So same time window, pre-ACT Secure, 17th of March through the 25th of April. As a district, we have said that the 15th of April is the day that we're doing this. It's going to be 9th and 10th graders in school, 11th and 12th asynchronous learning. So that is a change from in the past. Again, pre-ACT is only online. Students will be using TestNav, the app that's that's in their Chromebooks, and we'll have the sessions set up in Pearson Access Next. Please double check to make sure. I think we've got everybody, but if you don't have access to Pearson Access Next for the pre-ACT Secure or the ACT, please let us know right away so that we can get you set up. I thought I had everyone, but I need to make sure. Things that you will be doing is you'll be adding users, and those users are called room supervisors or proctors, and then preparing for proctor training. We are going to be talking in greater depth about this next month. You will have to set up sessions. So, and those of you who are doing the online ACT, it's almost identical to the pre-ACT Secure. That entire process is pretty much the same. All right, things to think about for pre-ACT Secure. I know that it's a long time out, but again, you need to start thinking about where are we going to hold this. Make up dates if you're going to have that available, or if you're going to say one date and we're done. I don't like that option, but I know that happens. And again, accommodated rooms, late testing rooms, etc. So preliminary test date for us is April 15th. That's asynchronous. The state window closes 10 days later. So we're testing, I believe, on a Tuesday. And so the following Friday is when we need to have all makeup tests done by. So we cut it really close to the end. You can do this with some students, for instance, those with time and a half accommodations. You can do that beginning the 17th of March. That's the day for both the forward and the pre-ACT, as well as dynamic learning maps. So the sheet that we sent, and I said for the forward, it was needed to come back for us by the 12th, by yesterday. That is the same thing that we'll be using for supporting the pre-ACT Secure. We're almost done with this particular session today, but I want to touch on 2 more things. First of all, advanced placement. I'm going to be sending the the assistant principal. Sorry, I gave you all new salaries, I think. I'm going to be sending the assistant principals an email in the next 24 hours. I do need to have the name of a point person at your school. So as the transportation is lined up, it's looking like we will have different bus companies on different days. That's the best I can do. And so I'm going to get that person to schedule. They will need to be the point person to help with to answer questions about transportation at the building level, like where is the AP bus going to be? Where will I get dropped off? When is it coming, etc. And then also, as we get closer, we'll get a survey out to ensure that we have enough space on the buses this year. Because of the large increase in number of students, we are want to make sure that we have enough buses. Also, just want to let you know that because we are off from school building sites, I'm working with our security team as well as the security team at Alliant to ensure that we have a plan in place if ICE should show up. So keep that in mind that we are cognizant of that, and being at a non-school site, it does make a difference. So we are being very careful and very planful of that. Again, at the Alliant Energy Center, the tests are online. We will be reaching out, talking about what are some opportunities for your staff. Now, I'm saying it that way because there are, when we've had school building staff, teachers, guidance counselors, etc., help us out in proctoring. One of the things that they've said is it was really an eye-opening experience because they didn't realize what it was like. I'm working to get funding for substitutes so that we could have, for instance, your physics teachers could proctor AP calculus, could help. No one is going to be the lead proctor, but we need to have people in place in order to ensure that we have the right number of proctors with the number of students at each session. So they cannot proctor an AP course that they teach. And so, for instance, we could not have the Spanish language, AP Spanish language teacher proctor that particular assessment. However, they could certainly do the French test or the music theory, which is very similar in its structure and how it works. So we'll be getting out a list of what it is that we need and opportunities, and I'll share with you at that time the number of substitutes that I can afford. But I think it's a great opportunity for your staff to really get into and understand what their students are going to be faced with when they walk into the Alliant Energy Center for AP testing. Finally, spring enrollments are still open. Those few students who are taking a spring only class and have not registered yet for it will not be required to pay the $40 late registration fee. The window for any registration, whatsoever, closes. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong. Next week, the end of next week.
February 23rd.
That's the date. February 23rd. After that, sorry, it's not going to happen. So, all right. Dynamic learning maps. Just real quickly, I need you to understand this. You may or may not be involved. You may have already heard this many times, but I just want to reiterate it. This is the alternate assessment for the ACT, the pre-ACT, and the forward. Only students who are being taught to the essential elements. So not every student with an IEP has the dynamic learning maps. These students have been identified based on their IEP. Their staff member, the CC teacher, the PST all know who these students are. They're going through the professional development right now. Many have completed it. They're going through something called First Contact. So here's how that student will best get that information delivered. And that window also opens on March 17th. So please keep in mind that that is also going on. So as you think about, on April 15th, who are my CC teachers who can help support the 9th and 10th grade pre-ACT? Keep in mind that several of these teachers also have the dynamic learning map for multiple students, which is a it's multiple days, small chunks of questions, but it can go over several weeks. So just please keep that in mind. It is also something that I want you to keep in mind that the dynamic learning map scores are viewed as comparable to the ACT and the forward and the pre-ACT scores when it comes to state and federal report cards. That's a very important thing. So if you say, well, guess what? I don't think these students can actually do this test, you are essentially decreasing the number of participation rate, which for the federal makes a huge difference. So just know that it's coming. If you have questions, we can help you. Stacy is extremely knowledgeable about the process that we've been using. So please reach out if you have questions about dynamic learning map. Finally, opt-outs. We need to, at the end, one of the things we'll talk about next month is for the ACT, we need to say, why did these students not take the test? If they didn't, if they're not going to do a makeup, there'll be times in which we'll be doing this. But we need to provide that for the forward test, for the PreACT Secure, and for the ACT. So this is something we need to keep in mind. Our school board and the state allows families to opt their students out of mandated state tests. The process is that needs to be put in writing. It can be an email. It can be a handwritten note. That digital version of the handwritten note, so scanning it, and or the email needs to be forwarded to myself and to Jamie Anderson. The note needs to be specific. It can't say, I'm going to opt my child, I want to opt my child out of all standardized testing. It needs to be out of the ACT or out of PreACT Secure. If they don't call it secure, that's fine, the PreACT, etc. We know that access testing is completed. There was thank you for everyone who helped us get all these reasons in place. There is no opt-out available, and it was listed as declined to test. Now, again, state report cards, there's no penalty for lack of participation. I'm going to call it that because that's what they're looking at it as. So any participation less than 95%, there is no penalty for it. However, in the federal or ESSA identification process, which will be coming out the end of this month, there is a penalty that is imposed, and is essentially the same as adding in zeros for a number of students until that participation rate is reached. It does affect TSI and ATSI status. I believe that all of our high schools have a student group with a TSI designation. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. And that is the case, I know, of the comprehensive high schools for multiple years. And so please keep that in mind. We'd like to make sure that we're not identified in the federal process. And if it's just participation that makes the difference, that's an easy win. So, any questions that you might have for us? Got everybody's email and phone numbers up listed? All right, I'm going to stop recording and then we'll hang out here for a while and see if you have other questions. Thank you so much. I appreciate your attention today.